One of the things that gets asked to me all the time is about suicides and the threats to commit suicide or take life, which is a really bizarre context when you're there. So the amount of suicides we go to is a lot. We either go to suicides by hanging, and they've been there for a while. And this is so bizarre. It can be something that they're in the house with the wife and the kids, and then husband goes to work, kids go to school, and then when they get home, they've hung themselves from banister. They're just gone to the knees and hang themselves from banister. We've had it where I were on duty and someone jumped off a tower block and literally landed basically at the side of my car, a 100-foot tower block. And there wasn't much left of them. They left a suicide note up by the car, and the next day they were in the front page of the paper, and they were there with the kids and the wife having a nice photo together, and you were there with them a couple of minutes before they died. There's so many instances like that where you can't stop someone committing suicide. They'll commit suicide regardless. That's what they're at a point in the body, in the mind, where they're going to do it. But the main ones that you go to were people where they're trying to threat to commit suicide, if that makes a massive difference. I always say that people who are going to do it will just do it. They won't get you to come to the house. They'll just do it anyway. And it's strange when we've been called to bridges where people are threatening to jump off the bridge or threatening to slit their own throats or stab themselves. So a couple of them, one were in Keighley Town Centre where a gentleman had a big carving knife to his neck. He started trying to stab the police car that we were driving. We drove alongside him and he started trying to stab the police car windscreen. So we backed off, we followed him, and he was walking into Keighley Town Centre with this big carving knife. We've shouted up on the radio. We've got units to the scene and have blocked in the top of Cavendish Street at Keighley with police vehicles, and he's in like a subdued area where no one can get in, and they've got the riot team there with all the shields ready to take him down. And the only person he talked to is me at the time. So I spoke to him at the time. He asked me to take my belt off, which had all my baton, my spray, my cuffs and everything. So I took my belt off to be able to gain his trust, and I threw it across the road. He had the knife into his neck, and we were cutting it, so the knife was sinking into his neck at the time. We managed to talk to him enough for him to start crying and put the knife down. So I went in then and I've disarmed him, taken him to the floor, handcuffed him. But then when he stood up, I gave him a big hug because it wasn't his fault. He was struggling mentally. So we've done that. We've had him on the Bingley Bypass A650 where they've had a knife again to the wrists and threatened to cut the wrists and jump over into traffic. The thing is that bridge won't kill you. It'll probably just break your leg or break your ankle and leave a big thud on your head. But it's weird when you have to talk people down because you're listening. It's not like you're bored. You're listening to the struggles. You're listening to them talk about the family and the fact that they've got no one there that loves them anymore. They've got no one that wants to hold them, and they don't see any other way out. And my initial thoughts are they're not going to commit suicide. They're just wanting someone to talk to. They're wanting someone to come to their aid. They've got no one else to do. So first thing they'll do is they'll go to a certain location. They'll ring 999 and they'll talk to us. And it's about having empathy and having trust in your voice and being able to talk to people, talk them down. The saddest parts of the job are the ones that we don't get to talk down. The ones that go to bridges and literally jump off. There's a Rainbow Bridget towards Junction 22 M62, and it's that big bridge that goes over when you go past Huddersfield. The amount of people that just go straight up there and jump straight off into traffic. 9 times out of 10 they're hit by another car when they land, or they're run over by a truck or something like that. They're the ones we can't save. The ones that we've had a load that have jumped out on Bingley Bypass or Skipton Bypass just in front of moving cars at 70 miles an hour. They've not rung us, they just do it. And it's that lack of being able to talk to someone and being able to ask for help that's upset us more than anything else, because we're there wanting to do a job and we can't do a job. One of the sad ones, which obviously we got, was someone at York House who were up one of the top floors at York House in Thorpe Edge, and it's a big building. I think it's about 100 foot tall. Again, I've sat down talking with them for about an hour. They're they've talked and we've talked them down, but I think 2 weeks later they've gone and thrown themselves off a large building. So yeah, coming to suicides it's very hard to deal with, because not only have you got to tell the family that they're not coming home, you've got to meet them, and this is really bizarre feeling, and I know people won't understand this today. You've got to meet them after they've been at the lowest, because they've been at the lowest, they've put a noose around their neck and they've dangled off a tree. And to be able to do that, there's a massive feeling of negativity around the body. And I know it sounds bizarre, but knowing that you're the first person to see them since they've done it. And I always say there's a sad element around them. One of the hardest ones I ever have to dealt with were on Oakley Moor, where a gentleman had put a shotgun in his mouth and pulled the trigger, and there were not much left of him, and I had to sit with him until the coroners come. But I just treated him as he were a person that were alive, and I just spoke to him on the moors, and we just sat watching stars in the sky. It sounds bizarre, doesn't it? It sounds really strange. But yeah, people don't see the stress that, and I think you can see it when you talk to certain people. You can see it stress behind their eyes. You can see how upset they are, and you can see when they're going to be doing something. And there's certain people that you can try and talk down, and no matter what you're going to do, they're going to do it regardless. It's just a matter of being in the right place at the right time and being the Bobby that goes up to them and gives them all you can do. But yeah, it's a sad place sometimes when people want to commit suicide and feel they've got no way out. There always is an option, and there's always another route you can take. I'd always say ask for help or feel free to be able to talk.